Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services. So I wanted to share some information about what we do and the importance of the levy, and then also provide you with an opportunity to ask any questions that you have. So just to start by talking a little bit about what a developmental disability is. So when we talk about the people that we support, it's anybody who has a serious condition that occurs before the age of 22 and impacts their life, and it's expected to last for their lifetime. So some of the more common ones you might be familiar with are conditions like autism, Down syndrome, intellectual disability, cerebral palsy. Those are the sorts of conditions that the people that we support have. We serve about 10,000 people each year throughout Hamilton County, and we support people with disabilities of all ages. So infants and toddlers, school-age children, youth, young adults, all the way through aging. If a person has a developmental disability, they at any point in their lifetime could receive services from us if they're eligible. And so one thing that's important to know is that 80% of our funding for all of those services comes from the local levy. So in the state of Ohio, developmental disability services are very heavily reliant on local dollars. And so the levy is crucial to everything that we do. I want to talk, we provide a lot of services, but I want to talk about a few key areas that you may be familiar with or may not. But we provide early intervention services, and that's for any infant or toddler under the age of 3 that has either a disability or a delay. And what we do in those cases is we go out to the home or wherever the child spends a lot of their time, and we work with their family to help them know and understand what their child's disability is and how to promote their development through their everyday activities. So we might give them strategies for how to work on speech at dinner time, or how to work on neck strength when they're taking a bath, or that sort of thing. So we're working hands-on and really empowering those parents to be able to support their child to develop into the future. We operate 2 school programs. So those schools are for students who are not able to attend their home district, either due to really extensive medical needs or sometimes behavioral challenges along with some other challenges as well. And that's really, we serve a small number of students in terms of the total county, but it's really to be the safety net for kids who otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to go to school. So those 2 schools are really designed for the kids with the most significant needs. The largest group of services we provide are called Service and Support Administration, and it's what you might think of as like case management. So our case managers will meet with the person and they do an assessment to see what their needs are and also what their goals are, and then they authorize and connect them to services to help support their needs. So that really depends a lot on the person's ability level, because we serve some people that really need help with every single task, things like bathing and eating and all of those things. We have other people that are more independent with personal care, but they may need transportation to work or help getting groceries or things like that. So that varies widely based on the person. One of the biggest things that impacts our budget is, if you've heard of Medicaid waivers, for a person with a disability, if they're on a Medicaid waiver, we're responsible to authorize those services, but then we also fund if the percentage ranges, but it's usually about 35 to 40% of those services. We provide the funding for that, and that is the largest line item in our budget at the county board. One thing that is good about that is for every dollar that we spend in Medicaid match, we are bringing in $5 in state and federal dollars into our community. So when a person's receiving Medicaid services, they can choose from any certified provider in our county to get those services, but we're funding 40% of that and then drawing in the additional 60% from state and federal dollars. So that really does fund thousands of jobs throughout Hamilton County to help support people with disabilities. You know, as Denise mentioned, we have not, this is not resulting in a tax increase. It is a flat renewal that we're asking for. And that is one of the things I did want to speak to based on your question, is that, you know, how our levies work is once the levy is voted, the amount we receive doesn't change. So we've been operating at the same amount since 2009. And so even when the property taxes go up, the effective millage goes down. So we're receiving the same amount of money. We don't get more dollars when property taxes go up. So I do like to share that just because it is a complicated system, and wanted to share how that impacts us. I know I kind of covered things quickly, but really overall, I think that the key thing to keep in mind is that we're really just out in the community, helping people with disabilities live their best life possible, helping their families get the support and resources that they need. And again, that's about 10,000 of the people in Hamilton County that receive those supports from us. So, any questions? Yeah.
It's a 5-year levy. Is that required by law? Do you need to renew it every 5 years? Is that?
So it's a 5-year term limited levy. So some counties have different amounts. Some have 5, some have 10, some have continuous. They never need to be renewed. But for us, if we didn't renew every 5 years, the levy would completely go away. So that's why we have to renew it every 5 years, because it's term limited. We only draw through those 5 years.
Okay. And that's set by the county or by the state law?
By the county.
So the county could extend that time?
Yes.
I belong to Cincinnatus. I'm a member of Cincinnatus, and we have endorsed the levy, so we will get that information out. But they did a write-up about it, and one of the arguments that came up was that HCDDS has been running a budget surplus each year, which suggests that it is possible to reduce the levy. You want to respond to that?
Sure, that's a fair question. I think the one thing that I would point to is, it just came up in our last conversation when Denise talked about people having a large funding gap because they use those ARPA dollars in their budget. So we got a lot of federal dollars through the pandemic. And so our cash balance did actually grow during the pandemic. But what we didn't want to do was add those dollars into our operating budget, and then when those dollars run out, then we have a huge shortfall that we have to make up. So we did build up our reserves during the pandemic, and the TLRC, the consultant, has taken a really close look at our finances, and they see that now that those federal dollars are gone, we're going to spend down those reserves. And it allows us to be more responsible and try to be more steady in terms of our finances versus having an influx of big dollars and then a big shortfall at the end. We're trying to manage that so that we can keep our finances more steady over the long term. And really those dollars, that influx that we received, is one of the reasons that we were able to retain flat funding and have just a renewal levy.
The gist of what I want to ask is